You're strong.
I know.
It's okay. I've got you now.
Just like in the movies.
Welcome to SuperWonder Legacy. I'm Jared. I'm here with Britt. What's up, Britt?
Hello, hello.
And today we are answering the question, do Superman and Wonder Woman really need the secret identities? Because it's something that has existed for like a long time. It's part of their character identities. But here's the interesting thing about it. When you look at it to a degree, particularly with Wonder Woman, the secret identity / lying to people all the time kind of doesn't work.
Right. It's a fine line, and that's what they've tried to explore a little bit. And even it falls on, okay, which is the real identity, and all of that kind of stuff. And while it is a complex type, storytelling and exploration, you do fall short on it. And what we saw in New 52, how while yeah they did have the identity, it was still more so like that they still were true to themselves, and that's what this is about. um and you also have where you know we see in, especially in uh post-crisis, how Dan Jurgens wrote that he should just be human. And so you have this where Superman is like, "Oh well, I don't want to. I want to say, trying to find the right word. um, he doesn't want to conform to being his true self as alien or whatever." And so when you have that, then yeah, the identity part, it just becomes a little bit diluted.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a problem there. It's like it gets into that cringe as hell statement that was like in that was in Superman Lois and Clark, was plastered all over Byrne and Jurgens' run, where it's like Superman is what I can do, Clark Kent is who I am. And I'm like, I get where you're going for with that, but the problem is he's not. That's part of why Diana calls him Cal. In addition to it being a pet name, she's not trying to discount his human heritage. I hate when I hear that. But it's because also it's not true. She calls him Clark all the time, including here in the New 52. But anyway, it's like that's still discounting where it's like, no, I'm not. That's discounting Kal-El. And that is equally as bad as discounting the Clark Kent persona. Because here's the thing. Arguably, Superman is more Kal-El because if like he's really Clark Kent, why does he wear the cape? Why does he wear the S? That is literally a Kryptonian symbol for hope. It's his family crest. Why wear that if you're just going to to say that he's really Clark Kent? Why do that? It doesn't make sense then.
Right. Okay, yeah. You wear the cape, you wear the symbol,
You hang out in a Kryptonian fortress of solitude.
right? You use the powers.
You have a Kryptonian dog.
Your cousin, all of that. That is, it doesn't make sense, for you to say, "Oh, I'm only human," or things like that. But you use the powers. That it's very selfish, very ungrateful, because Superman, and we'll talk about uh, this is brought up later, but he is an immigrant story and also an adoptee and a refugee. And that's something else that's very complex, with exploring. And you are going to have that confliction of your identity. But at the same time, this is why I really don't like how post crisis had him learn of his um, heritage like when he was 18 or something. I just feel like that takes away him truly growing up with it as well. I would much rather it be when he's like in the know of 10, 10, 11, maybe 13. But to wait that long and, you know, think, oh, what did he do? He got hit by a meteor or something to have the powers that he's had. Obviously, he isn't, you know, in his blood to the kin, so they don't have powers. So where does he get them from? And he just grew up with the powers, but didn't know where they came from. And then for um, Jonathan and Martha, I would think that if they are a kindly couple, that they would still tell, Clark his truth. And that just is something that a lot of Superman writers neglect and they don't want to um, uh, explore and bring up.
Because honestly, Britt, this is the thing that this is the a point that I bring up a lot for this. It's like, and this is the point I bring up about the biggest insult to Wonder Woman, aka Tom King, is that a lot of these writers are just lazy. That's what it is. They don't want to be bothered to have to do both things. So they're like, no, I'm just going to turn Superman into me. That's who it is. I'm just going to I'm just going to change the character. See, here's the thing. I want to write Superman, but I don't want to write the secret. I don't want to write the Clark Kent thing. Because here's the thing, Britt. That's why Hugh Must Not Be Named. I realize how difficult it is to differentiate who I mean when I say Hugh Must Not Be Named, but you'll get who I'm talking about. Why He Must Not Be Named revealed the identity, because reportedly he didn't want to write the Clark Kent part because he said it was too hard. And I'm like, dude, you wanted to write Superman. What did you expect? Also, secret identity, you wrote Spider-Man.
Oh, that one.
Yes, that one. That's kind of important to Spider-Man. So don't give me this. Oh, it's too hard. It's not like I wrote Ultimate Spider-Man for 100 issues.
The thing is, not, it's mostly the complexity that's hard. They, as writers, as professional writers, you are going to have to, challenge yourself as a writer because with going, middling, stagnant, and just doing the bare minimum, you lose the creativity and you lose the impact of what a story could be. Um, with He Who Shall Not Be Named, the one of the many, the way he did the identity reveal, it was too fluffed. He didn't show the consequences of it.
Exactly. That's the thing. If you do the secret identity reveal, have consequences for it. Because I half expected someone to try and bomb the Daily Planet and then maybe like take Lois captive or something like that. None of that happened. And I'm like, what?
Right, because they were basically scared in a sense to really show the consequences and let it be more impactful. And then you have New 52 when they did Truth. Um, that was they did the right thing with the consequences, but at the same time they went to extreme of trying to really just destroy New 52 Superman. And that is something that yeah, you will go through. I mean, it's parallel to even BVS, you know, but um, with the rioters and everything like that. But it still went too extreme where his personality changed drastically, especially with the other He Who Shall Not Be Named, that screwed up the Superman and Wonder Woman book. But yeah, so
Have we added him to the He Who Must Not Be Named list?
yes, we have. Yes,
Okay,
we
I
have.
I take it you're doing that retroactively. Okay, I'll allow it. That counts. That counts. But there's so many people on this list, it gets a little confusing to tell who it is. But as soon as
Yes.
you said screwed up Superman and Wonder Woman book, I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. Here we go. I got it. But yeah, it's really weird, and I'm like, dude, if you're gonna do it, fine. He also brought up he must not be named, the guy who revealed the Superman identity. I have to say this now because we've mentioned so many he must not be named in the show. But he also brought up the reason why he revealed the identity is because he's like, well, kids aren't really buying the identity anymore. And I'm like, you would know this how? Just because your kids don't buy it doesn't mean everyone's kids don't buy it. In which here's how I know that kids buy the secret identity. Britt, who's DC's most popular character?
It is Batman.
Exactly. And Britt, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Batman has a secret identity. I'm
Well,
fairly
you know
certain.
what?
I could be wrong. But last time I checked, Batman has a secret identity.
Right. The thing is with Batman, however, is that he gives off this James Bond type thing, this you know, the Bruce Wayne billionaire playboy type thing. With Clark, what's overplayed with the identity is the bumbling idiot galoot type thing. That is something that, okay, is very much overplayed, and kids aren't going to get with it. It just seems so goofy. So you have to, you can have the goofiness, but not too much. You can have him be not so much as a dork, because even Peter Parker, he's not like that anymore. He's not really, and that's pretty much what um, Byrne wanted to do too, is that, with Marvel basically taking the number one spot from DC, they wanted Superman to basically be DC's Spider-Man, Peter Parker. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and they went overboard with the nerd. Um, and
Oh, the
now
big galoot?
yeah, and it's is gone too far with Superman. And then on top of that, the you know nostalgic hold that the Donner films have too. And even Reeve, he did not want Clark, to be the bumbling idiot anymore. It was like, okay, I'm done with that. He can
And
just be himself.
and that's where you get Henry Cavill, where he wasn't that. And that was
No,
something that like people critiqued him for that, but I'm like, yeah, but at a certain point the clumsy thing just doesn't work anymore.
yeah, I would think that even in story, these characters would be like, they would become suspicious of something, because why are you acting like this? It's not just a normal
And why are
thing.
you vanishing every time Superman shows up? Why wouldn't the greatest journalist at the Daily Planet put that together? Could it be because she's an idiot who's also lame?
I would say that with the whole revisionist things of Lois too, is
Watch, someone will retcon and say, "Oh, she always knew he was Superman." I'm like, BS.
oh yeah, they've tried to do that a couple of times, and the thing is, and we saw it earlier, even now, of Twitter complaining how she doesn't have independence, as a character, that she's just revolving around Superman and
Maybe
being
that's
his
because
wife.
that's the thing, Britt. You know what I noticed? Stop me if I'm incorrect on this. It seems that a lot of these Clois fans are actually just Lois fans
Oh yeah, that's
and not
been known.
Superman fans.
Oh yeah, that's been known. That's been known.
That's
Um,
why I don't take their takes on Superman seriously, because I'm like, because I got news for you. Siegel and Schuster didn't even want Superman with Lois.
no, no.
Granted, you could say wants Superman to be with anyone, but they didn't want her to be with Lois. That's the thing to be clear. And when you read original Lois, I know this because I do this magical thing. It's a really fun activity. It's called reading the comics. Lois is. I made a tweet. I think it was today that said Lois is the Rey Skywalker of DC. Do you know why? Do you know who Rey Skywalker is, Britt?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the idea that like she's a girl boss that the company has to force her to be cool. The thing is, Lois will never be cool, so there is that. I mean, they tried giving her when you have to add powers to someone or when you have to turn her into other characters to make her cool, that character's not cool. But anyway, it's not about Lois. But anyway, so we have this, and see, here's the thing. I do have a little bit of like affinity for the Secret Identities to a degree because. And it's said in the Throne of Atlantis movie where Clark is like, it's not necessarily like hide. It's more like we can just blend in together and just be regular people, which I get that like they're not regular people because one's a demigoddess, other one is a literal god of the sun. But it kind of helps them to like be connected. And here's the thing, Britt, you know that once they, for lack of a better term, come out as superheroes, they're never going to be able to go to a restaurant and just hang out. People are going to be swarming them.
Right. That is the thing that, again, that fine line, though, is that you think of them somewhat as celebrities. And that's something that I also talked about. Even when writing The Blessing, it was short version of it was it's a story that takes place 20 years and they reveal their identities and they are just treated as celebrities on a grander scale. And yeah, it can be a little much. They don't just see them as just them as regular people, but at the same time it's like you do feel this freedom type thing. And with Clark and Diana's first date in Throne of Atlantis or in Justice League 15, it is something that, okay, we can just be, have this sort of calmness. And that's something. But to say that calmness or normalcy comes from rejecting half of who you are, that is something that's crossing the line for me.
That's
And
true.
I can't, get with that. But if you have it where they're just basically incognito and they know who they are very much, especially Clark, he's very much just owning who he is and honest with himself and not trying to choose one or the other. But it is that understanding of blending in to just have that sense of peace, then that is
Exactly.
how the story should be. It shouldn't be where Superman is naming his son after Jonathan Kent just because he is human or he thinks of himself as human. That is not how you go about these characters, especially that they are supposed to be inspirational and and teaching children to stand out and be themselves and be honest and truthful with not only themselves but with other people.
Exactly. So then we get to Superman and Clark Kent. So it's the thing. So it's one of those like situations where I don't necessarily. So I get why again, going back to the clumsiness, I get why that exists because it is to a degree like no one would believe that this clumsy guy is this god, but to a degree it gets kind of old and I'm like, what are you doing here? And it's like, and I also think so. One of the things that people say about Lois is that she is Clark's emotional anchor to humanity, and I'm like, I think that's
Absolutely not.
oversimplifying it. It's not. It's not because arguably his emotional anchor to humanity are the Kents, but that's besides the point. That would require you to actually read the comics. But it's like with this, it's like that's the thing about Clark here is that the role of Clark Kent, that's his emotional anchor to humanity. Because yes, he's Kryptonian, but he's also human. That's the thing, and that's what Britt and I are kind of trying to say here. There has to be a balance between Superman and Clark Kent. Too often, the writers seem to overemphasize the Clark Kent part because they don't know how to write the Superman part. So they're like, I'm going to make him as human as possible, so it's really easy to do this. Because, and here's the thing, that you know why John Byrne, to our point, the reason why John Byrne did that with Superman is because he's a Marvel writer, and Marvel heroes are very much, they emphasize the human portion of their characters, and that's fine for them. That's their competitive advantage. That's their distinction. What makes Marvel unique. However, DC shouldn't stoop to that because for lack of a better term, the DC characters are more akin to gods amongst men. That's kind of their thing. And when you make them like always want to be human like that, and you like stoop them down to that level, that kind of, what's the word? It kind of undermines that.
Right. And also, you have to look that he's Clark and Cal and Superman. There's three different identities, and I think that Cal get lost in the shuffle too. And you have to choose one or the other of, is he Clark Kent the reporter or Superman the hero? But you aren't seeing Cal the Kryptonian. Um, and also the identity was created for, yes, Clark to be his link to humanity where he can just go about his way. But it was also for him to, yes, be a reporter, but at that time he didn't have a super hearing and his powers weren't as advanced. So he was the reporter to get the news for Superman to leap tall buildings and save the day. And of course, as the time went on and he evolved as a character, his powers and stuff like that. So when his powers evolved, I would say that his occupation as a journalist also kind of, it became irrelevant over time. He didn't have to be just stuck in the office at the Daily Planet. And even newspapers, they are very obsolete in a sense
Mm-hmm.
because you get your news media on now, on social media, on you have
Phones and
digital
stuff.
news. Exactly. So being of actually a newspaper, I would say that he doesn't have to be stuck in an office. And that's why I am a very firm believer that Superman should be like a global correspondent or something like that, or that, um, and that also goes into why I would like for his identity to be open, especially with Diana too, because their occupations. And that's something else that we were saying before, or that was on the previous slide, was that as a journalist and stuff, that is what you want. You want the truth. You are talking about how you look for the truth and um, put it out for everyone, but yet you're hiding such a big secret. And even with going back to Lois, because we have to, with that of how the Action Comics, uh, the backup story, when now that she's editor in chief, the new hire, she felt like because Superman saved her, she couldn't write the story because she would have been biased about it. And how and how that shows how unethical Lois is, and Clark too, because not only did she give him credit for her winning the Pulitzer, but it's also she felt like she's this star reporter because she went on and wrote the biased article about Superman that gave her that popularity. It's like, yeah, you're romanticizing being unethical, and basically, that is something that real reporters would get in trouble for. They would lose their jobs for. But yet, yeah, DC is romanticizing that, and that's a total different conversation. But it just also just goes into, how are you talking about this is your job of um, reporting the truth, but yet you're lying, or you're, lies of omission, and keeping that big of a secret. Yes, it is to protect people, but at the same time, it goes a little bit on the selfishness and um, a little privileged side for Superman, and by the instant, Lois too. So
Exactly.
um, then I would say that, with, again, the whole thing with the identity, it shouldn't be this difficult. But again, writers who, I guess, they don't have that experience, which, no, not everyone will have that experience, but they don't do the research of these characters.
No, they
They
clearly don't.
they want to, like, as you said, I just want to add on to that, that because they feel like they can't self-insert themselves in these characters, yeah, they twist them around for their comfort. And it's kind of like this going thing, that they twist the characters for the plot, that they want to explore for themselves, for their comfort. But it's not for the character. The plot isn't for the character, and the story isn't for the character. Tom King.
Yeah, exactly. That happens a lot with Tom King, where he forces stories that characters don't go with. But anyway, so then we get to. So here's the thing. The problem with that is that Tom King can let. I get that he's probably like, I want to write I want this story, but the characters that I want to write it with, DC won't let me do. Then I'm like, then just make up your own. You do indie comics, but anyway, so then we get to the Diana side of this discussion, where for the most part she actually kind of doesn't really have. I mean, Diana doesn't have a secret identity. People know who, like, Diana Themyscira is. It was kind of funny. It kind of annoyed me when, I know I said moving on from Tom King, but screw it. When King was like, was naming Trinity Elizabeth Marston Prince, and I'm like, you realize that she hasn't gone by Diana Prince in like years, right?
Right, that you can tell that Tom King very much did surface level.
I think he only read the old stuff that's like not even canon anymore, hence the Steve Trevor stuff and the Prince stuff.
Right, because if you were going to and thought that the definitive run was George Perez, yeah, Diana didn't have a secret identity. She didn't have Prince. So,
Even
um,
now, even the Rucka run, she didn't.
right, the only time she used Prince was New 52 and DC AMU movies, was, well, no, I would say that only when she was with Clark, and her whole thing was being a diplomat, which, that's kind of funny that, you know, with Diana being a diplomat, and, they were, I guess, trying to align her with the ambassador type thing, um, at the beginning, and then that all fell by the wayside because they wanted to do rebirth type thing with her. That, and even in New 52, Diana didn't have the, well, at least with Sewell, it felt like he was trying to align her with the ambassador role.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and with that, yeah, Diana doesn't need the identity because she has been taught, not to conform to societal, norms of hiding yourself, of changing yourself. It is for you to be open and honest and celebrate who you are as a person, and your identity. It is about completely embracing your identity, and if she is the champion of truth, she wields the lasso of truth, she is going to live through and through of with truth. And that's the complete difference of Clark and Diana, of how the identity is explored and with them. And I, what I what ticks me off is how Diana, she is placed in the wrong for being so open and free and loving her identity, while and it's kind of like, because of that, she's supposedly removed from humanity. But with Clark conforming to a very problematic status quo and everything like that, that he's accepted within humanity.
Yeah,
That's,
exactly.
you know,
It seems very hypocritical.
it is. Um, and yeah, so with both of their occupations, and again, I've said this, that Diana uses her voice to speak for the people, and Clark uses his words. As a reporter and as an ambassador, they are both aligned with truth. So if the open identity works for Diana, it can work for Clark. He can still be Clark Kent. It is really not that difficult to write a balanced story with him being a global reporter. And yes, he's still, if you write it correctly, he will have those moments of peace. He won't be hounded. Yes, he will be known, and it will be like a celebrity, but we see in reality with celebrities, they do autographs, but they still, you they go to the stores. They they live their life wherever they, live it or whatever, and it's all good. They don't, not all the time are they hounded. And I just think that DC has this old school view of things. It's not like how it used to be. So you can put these characters in modern times. Not
But
everyone
be
is
careful,
starstruck.
Britt. As you know, comic book fans don't like change.
That's true. That's true.
That's the biggest issue. They're like, it must reflect the way it was when I was 12 for all time. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like this
Yeah,
way, the only reason why I say the new 52 is the way they should go is because it actually sold well. So,
exactly.
look this way, if it didn't sell well, I would have been like, okay, they tried it, didn't work, but it actually
Right.
sold well and it worked. So that's the problem. But anyway, so now, Britt, let's talk about the pros and cons that come with secret identities, because there are a couple of good pros for it. With pros, it protects the loved ones, because obviously, with Hugh must not be named, when he lazily revealed the secret identity, it's like, yeah, there's no way a supervillain wouldn't attack the Daily Planet to get at Superman. How many people has Clark really pissed off? Then
Yeah.
you get, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, the Daily Planet, Smallville. Yeah, you will want to protect those, who's he close to. Yeah. But again, if you write it correctly, there are ways to, it's not like you have the villain just straight up, you know, um, unaliving everyone. No, you don't have to have it like that. But at least, like you said, destroy the Daily Planet building is fine. Smallville, uh, for me, honestly, I would say that Smallville should be written in a way where it is kind of like this mysterious type town that people know it's weird things happening, and that it's not a just that Clark lands in Smallville. It has something to do with the fact that Smallville is kind of like Stranger Things type thing, or this town that's very much extraordinary in a way. Um,
Now there's a Black Label book.
even like what is that cartoon? Courage the Cowardly Dog. They lived in the middle of nowhere and with his owners, and
Crypto is the cowardly dog in this.
Basically, and you know, in Smallville, just have like weird stuff happening. That can be a story all on its own. So if a villain does attack Smallville, it's kind of like, well, yeah, you know, we have had Superman, Superboy, um, and like I said, having Clark know who he is and having his even adventures as Superboy at 13 in Smallville, that is a story. That is something that, you know, DC can explore a little bit more.
Exactly. And now, two is normalcy and perspective, and that it gives them like an idea of what the average person goes through. It's like Clark doing laundry, or Diana having to learn how to cook for herself, or something like that. So it's one of those things
Right,
where it essentially allows them a window into the life of the people that they're protecting.
right. And normalcy, it, you know, when people say have a normal, like everyone's normal is different. The only thing normal that we do that's pretty much the same is like you said, we do laundry, we go to the store, we mow the lawn, wash the car, you know, things like that. That's normal. Um, but to say of like lifestyle, of like a certain social way, no, you know, that's not it. But normalcy of that nature of, you know, of like I said, going to the store or something, yeah, they can do that. And that is something that especially Diana, she would enjoy doing.
Exactly. Exactly. And so then we get to operational flexibility, and that by the way, this is the one of the pluses I will give Rebirth Justice League, is that they did do this where they literally were like kind of like how in a spy movie where everyone's in plain clothes and they're like staking out a location. That's what the Justice League did. And I'm like, well, that's actually kind of cool, and it allows them to do that. Because if Clark were to reveal his identity, everyone sees Clark Kent, they're like, "Oh no, Superman's here."
Right. Or also the Jean Paul Gaultier with the perfume,
Hmm.
that little mini side comic that Clark and Diana went to the fashion show together, as Clark Kent and Diana Prince. That works, you know, something like that will be interesting for them
And
to go
you
in
just gave me
different.
an idea.
Of course I did, of course I did. But yeah, Clark and Diana doing different disguises or whatever, or you know, identities, that will be something fun.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's kind of like that, which I enjoy. Now let's get to the cons. Cons are, it is an emotional burden on characters. It's like, and it shows in Justice League 12 when Clark is like, I can't be close to anyone because I'm always keeping this big secret from people. And it's like, no, I can't. Now, the counter that I will do, yes, it does take a toll on relationships, Britt, but the counter I will give to this point is that this is why Justice League 12 happens. If you find someone that goes through the same experience you have, guess what? You now have a shared experience. Diana understands what Clark goes through, and that's part of why the relationship works so well.
Right. Even with James Gunn's new movie, Superman, um, he says that Clark, you know, he's trying to find the balance between being Clark Kent and his Kryptonian heritage.
Mm-hmm.
And
And yeah, that
obviously,
works.
you know, he's keeping the secret and he's lonely. So even with, if you saw the trailer or, you know, the teaser trailer, you see that he's with Lois, but at the same time, for Gunn to say that he's still lonely, that means that, you know, at some extent, at some extent, it's still the fact that she's not completely within either one of the worlds, or at least the Superman world,
So you're
and
telling
that's
me he's still
something.
at the Superboy stage? Haha, Tomorrowverse.
That's funny. Yeah. So it's kind of like you, yeah, she doesn't know, she can't empathize with that type of um conflict, and it does take someone who can really understand how that life works, or you will end up with a Superman that ends up like, for her comfort, is picking one identity over the other, and then you end up with, like I said, post crisis, neglecting and demonizing his Kryptonian heritage, which is something that you just shouldn't do.
And it's got another idea. All right.
Of course you did.
There you go. So the second part is inefficiency. I do see what you're saying here, where it's like if like there's a fire or like someone's in danger, but he can't get a way to change into Superman without anyone knowing. Yeah, that can lead to like not necessarily like a missed opportunity, but also like inaction, which can lead to death. So I do see where you're going with that one. So this one I kind of agree with.
Yeah, because I mean, how many times have they had that sort of thing as a joke of Clark, like he has to go, well, at some times they say he got to go into a phone booth, or he has to like slip away from um Lois before she knew the identity, and she's following him around or something like that, or he's in a big crowd and he can't move, especially when they want him to be this 6 foot big, dude. How are you going to, hide yourself from that? Um, so that is something that it is, again, that's difficulty, that it becomes overplayed to keep doing that.
Yeah, exactly. So next is like this one I also agree with. Diana being like an ambassador, that kind of doesn't make sense for her specifically to have then a secret identity because it's like, wait a minute. So you already have a public identity, but you don't reveal this. Aren't people gonna put oh, the ambassador is away right now, and then the Wonder Woman saves some kids, and then she shows back up right as Wonder Woman goes away. Yeah, people are gonna really fast.
Right. So, and again, Diana's, her life of, being the embodiment of truth, it's kind of like it's very much blurred to her. The only way Diana Prince is used for her, which makes sense, is that if she does want that, um, be incognito, like uh DCAMU first started, or Justice League 15, or even Project ACO, that was perfect because Clark and Diana, they were incognito in Japan, had their daughter and everything like that, under even under different names. But it worked for them, and it was saying that they did quote unquote business um, in America. You know, that sort of thing works for them. And I'm pretty sure they probably were known, um, probably an open identity for them to be all the way in Japan, for them to, live that um, life as incognito.
Exactly. And this last one, vulnerability to exposure, the more connections they have, the more likely it is for them to be like discovered. Here's the other thing. So it's more likely it could affect like Bruce and Hal and Barry because people are going to be like, why is Superman always hanging out with Barry? Oh, Barry's the Flash. Or why is
Yeah,
Superman hanging out with Bruce? Oh, Bruce is Batman. See?
yeah, it does affect the other heroes that don't want their identity to be exposed. But at the same time, again, it has to be a way where you you can write it. And I think that, well, it won't be probably by another 100 years or so until someone maybe taps into it to really give us that, or we can do it ourselves. But um, yeah, it can work that way of not being as simplified for everyone to make that connection, that, oh, this is who this is. But at the same time, again, even I'm an advocate for pretty much all heroes to at some point reveal their identity. I just feel like um, just the heroes need to um, just be honest. And that was also something in Justice League 15, where Clark says the reason why he wears the glasses is because, people aren't going to think that Superman, has an everyday job, that he's, and Clark Kent, he's just like this guy. But for, he doesn't want to put on a mask because he wants people to trust him. And so it's kind of like, okay, if you want people to trust you, then not only are they seeing your face, but they also know who you really are, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So then we get to the case for open identities. And Britt, you had to make me use an image from He Who Must Not Be Named.
Well,
Yeah, I had to improvise because in these areas you didn't exactly give me images to use. So I was like, oh no.
you
Anyway,
know,
it it does lead to greater. I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
I'm like, oh, well, I was actually trying to find some type of, um, you know, image that goes with it, and I didn't want to use I didn't want to use his issue,
And
so
you forced me
my
to.
bad.
Anyway, the open days does lead to like I do agree it can lead to a greater trust of the public. That's like the public's like, oh wow, they're trusting us with their secrets and everything like that.
Yeah, it just feels like, Clark and Diana, they are the champions of the people. They are, with Diana, she's um as ambassador, as this that she travels, to help women and children. That is something that she wants them to know who she is. And again, her with growing up on Themyscira, and that was the one thing that she is taught to be open and celebratory about her identity and about who she is as an Amazon. Clark, he was conditioned to be reserved and hold himself back and all of that kind of stuff. But as he got older, though, I don't think the Kents meant, okay, you live forever in secret. At some point, you do have to be more open. And yeah, just because he doesn't have a mask on as Superman and that they can see your face, they still, and you want people to trust you, still having his identity at some point. It doesn't have to be like when he first starts as Superman, because as we saw in New 52 or something like that, the government will, you know, that's a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Or like in Injustice, this is one of the interesting parts of Injustice when they want to pacify Superman since he came out as Clark Kent. They literally kidnap his parents, and I love Batman's response to that. He gets into the White House at the Oval Office because he's Batman, and he goes, "Are you crazy? They're not going to be looking for your remains on Saturn."
yeah, it's not that. It's just more so like once he does gain the trust of the people and he knows that the people are now knowing him for who he is as a hero, it will be within the 5 or 10 years or so, to really build on that it's time to start revealing his identity. Maybe within the 5 years of saying, okay, this is who I am, and I'm still going to work as a journalist or but globally, and more so of again, it is about trusting of the public. And then Diana, she's basically like, yeah, well, this is my life. I've already been like this, so I'm just supporting um my best friend or my beloved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And then you get to the enhanced roles because yeah, it's essentially like yeah, Diana's a diplomat, so you kind of don't need that. And Clark, yeah, it would be kind of interesting because people would be like, of all the jobs you could pick, you picked a journalist, the man that has the powers of a god, and he's a journalist.
And the thing is, that is a powerful, well, It used to be before, you know, with the news and it's blurring with the gossip and stuff like that. But being a journalist, it is a powerful thing because again, you are, especially when Clark is doing the human interest stories, he is putting the stories of the people out there. You know, he's using his words to articulate pretty much how we're doing. You know, we aren't journalists, but we are within the show. We are talking about information and we are putting it out there, and you know, people are listening and people are um, knowing more about the characters and everything like that, and our opinions and everything. But that's basically what that is. So yeah, journalism is or was a powerful thing. So it makes sense. And like I said, as the champion or the man of the people, he wants the people voice out, and that's how he does it is with his words and in writing.
Exactly. So then we get to the impact on their relationship dynamics. So we have here is for the pros for Superman and Wonder Woman openly sharing their true selves with the world could strengthen their bond because it's like see, here's the thing about Wonder Woman. The reason why she works so well as a superhero is because she encourages everyone to be their true selves no matter what, and to be all they can be, essentially, to quote the US Army. So actually, when you think about it, if we were to write a story about this, hint hint, or like it happened in one of our stories, hint hint, I could see Diana kind of being the one that encourages Clark to do this because, as like in some continuities, the goddess of truth, she is a lot like the one that's like, I went through this too. You're not alone. I am here.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna. I was agreeing with you, and also, again, that is something that was pretty much being explored within the New 52. But how fans are, they want to say again that Diana wanting Clark to celebrate who he is, wanting to be more open with his Kryptonian heritage, with you know all of that and that advancement and knowledge and stuff like that to help the world for to be better and stuff like that. They turned it around, demonizing it as in she wants to take away his humanity.
Yeah, exactly. And arguably, when you think about it, I'm going to be petty right now. I know, Jared, petty. What? When you think about it, and this is why Clois doesn't work, Lois openly encourages Clark to not go so hard into his Kryptonian heritage.
I mean, she's
Hmm.
it's a rarity that she even calls him Cal, you know, and if that, um, she doesn't really, they don't have her studying or anything like that, Kryptonian. She doesn't speak Kryptonese at all.
Mm-hmm.
And but you know who did? Diana. She learned it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as honor. That's what she does. She honors, you know, people's other people's cultures because that is what she does. That's what she does. That is what the mascara is about. It's about culture and loving. So, you know, within the world and how she becomes Wonder Woman is that. That is what gives her her motivation and, you know, again, we see people on Twitter, you know, and these comments saying, why does she call him Cal? That's not his name and stuff like that. That just really takes away from the character and simplifies them in the worst way possible.
Or it's like if you come to another country and someone calls you by like a different name, and it's like, yeah, that's for particularly xenophobic. Because here's the thing: Superman fans want him to not be Kryptonian. That's it. They want him to be. They want him to be a Marvel character. In other words, he's born on Earth. That's it. And I'm like, that's not the character. But anyway, the open identity also it gives them authenticity, as we said. And yeah, it essentially means that like if they're open about the thing, it can kind of like, oh yeah, we don't have to worry about people finding out who we are because they already know. The cons is that the pressure of maintaining different identities will be replaced with the pressure of societal expectations upon them. Because based upon Twitter, that if Superman and Wonder Woman were real and they were open about the relationships, anytime there was an earthquake, people would think, oh, we're making super babies. Everyone would be talking about, hey, Superman, what's Wonder Woman like in bed? And I'm like, yeah, people are perverted enough to only focus on that. And then you have, like, with Batman, he's like, dude, you're compromising security, because it's like, if people are like, why is Superman hanging out with Bruce Wayne? Oh, yeah. And like I said before, that's not exactly going to work. And then, since He Who Must Not Be Named was too lazy to do this, their enemies might exploit their weakness. Like someone goes and takes Martha Kent captive or something like that. There's any number of ways that this could happen.
I mean, honestly, you've already had this type of plot line, with Clark saying that how close he can get with people. It's the fact that Lois has been so close to both Superman and Clark, and marrying Clark and romancing Superman openly. So it's kind of like, of course, story-wise, they aren't going to question that and explore it too much, but it's kind of like you couldn't put two and two together even then, So it
Mm-hmm.
has been a story that they have had, and basically everyone is very dumb.
Really? Or simple-minded? Oh boy.
Yeah, very much so, because it's it's kind of like been right there, for anyone to question it. I mean, that's pretty much why Lois has always been the damsel in distress, because it felt like, oh, Superman is going to, um, he has a relationship with her, he's going to save her. But then it's kind of like, okay, Clark Kent, they look the same, even though you want to do the whole mental gymnastics of the glasses changes his eye color or something like that, or the way he stands. Honestly, no. I mean, it you can still tell it's the same person. At some point you can still tell, especially with them being the same height or whatever. Even if they try to have him hunching over, it just seems like, yeah, he's the same person. And especially again with the closeness of Lois and stuff, you can tell. So with that, again, it just feels like a comfort of the writers, and like you said, they want him to be turned into a Marvel character. And I feel like, honestly, Tom King is trying to turn Wonder Woman into a Marvel character with having her just use.
And he said he's a Marvel writer that worked for DC, and I'm like, then go work for Marvel.
Oh, geez, he definitely needs to go work for Marvel.
From
He
their characters at this point.
honestly, let him write Wolverine, since he said that Diana is Wolverine. He obviously,
He
or
could
let
write
him.
Wolverine because Wolverine is depressed.
Yeah, he can write, or you know what? He can
I
write
mean, he wrote
Captain.
Vision. That's what people. That's the first book that got people to know who Tom King is. His Vision story.
Wasn't that depressing too? He can also write Captain America, because
No,
he
no, no,
wants.
no, 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 no.
Let him write
No, do not put that on me, Britt. Do not put that on me. I already had to deal with Ta-Nehisi Coates on Captain America. Don't put Tom King on here.
Okay, let's see.
What's
I
another
would say.
Punisher?
Oh well, yeah.
Hey, there you go. Punisher's a depressed a-hole that has mental issues. That's right up Tom King's wheelhouse and all the characters he normally writes.
Yes, definitely.
To write a Wonder Woman-like character, don't. So then we get to the cultural significance of Superman and Wonder Woman. Is that, yeah, they are cultural icons, and yeah, it's like they do represent, like, both in a way, truth Wonder Woman especially. And it's like, plus here's the thing. If people know that like Clark Kent and Diana Prince are Superman and Wonder Woman, yes, it would lead to like all the stuff I mentioned before, but it could also lead to people feeling more safe around them because they're like, okay, if something happens, Superman and Wonder Woman are literally right next to me. Or it's like, oh look, they want to be like us or something like that. It's like it may lead to the people like having more respect for them and not seeing them as like above them.
Exactly. I mean, that is also the thing is that when you talk about their links to humanity, it's always them with, with the public as Superman and Wonder Woman. But it feels like how they are still distancing themselves because of that identity, that they're holding that back. But if they know that Superman and Wonder Woman is also this journalist and this ambassador, this farm boy and this island girl, that would really connect them to the people and also connect them more so to the reader, is that these, you know, in a sense, these celebrities on a grander scale are very much just just like us. It's just like that. But so many of these writers, they just can't grasp that sort of, like I said, the whole thing is very complex and is challenging, but it's something that you can um, write, and it can be explored, and it also it can be established as well, as that it's just these characters are within the modern time.
Exactly. So then we get to the as Britt brought up, Superman is an immigrant. So continue.
Okay, so yeah, his story as a refugee and an immigrant on the different spectrum, I would say, because Diana is an immigrant as well, but she chose to leave Themyscira. Clark, he didn't. Cal, he didn't have a choice, so he is essentially a refugee. And he's learned to live within, mortals and everything like that, with the Kents, with Alana, and growing up, going to school and everything like that. But it's still that, except for Lana knowing that he had powers and stuff, he still had to again hold back just all of who he was. And the only other person that really, um I would say, gave him that openness was Lori in his college years, because of course she was keeping a big secret too of being a mermaid. And what she did was, after college, she chose to go back to Atlantis, um which is living her truth. But Clark, what does he do? Yes, he becomes a journalist, but at the same time, he holds he holds himself back even further, and just really, um, basically wants to sever himself from his, who he is as a Kryptonian, and reject his heritage, and also try to compartmentalize his personas, or his identities, and really have this. It's not even a. It's a double life, but it's just so far apart, you know, and it's something that, like I said, it doesn't have to be. You don't have to have just so far apart where the story is just so one note.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there you go. And that is very true. And it's kind of because here's the thing: America has the like label as the land of immigrants and stuff, and it's the land of like it's the melting pot. And part of being a melting pot is that you bring what makes your culture unique to America, as long as it doesn't like clash with like our cultural values and such. In other words, you can't like kill people. But my point is, you bring what makes your culture unique and you contribute to it, but you don't lose who you are. And here's the thing. Clark Kent's Kryptonian. That's not going away anytime soon.
Unless it's like gold kryptonite when he loses his powers
But
permanently.
DNA-wise, he's still a Kryptonian.
But yeah, DNA wise, and that's pretty much why even Jonathan, John Kent, he doesn't supposed to exist because in post crisis it was said that Kryptonians and Earth, Earth beings, they couldn't DNA couldn't match, and also even with Connor being a clone with Clark and Lex's DNA, he still has stability issues, So yeah, John either shouldn't exist at all or he should have issues, but mental gymnastics and contrivances, and Dan Jurgens, of course, wanting to close the door on any other possibilities. He wanted John to be like this perfect little half Kryptonian, and he still, again, to say that Clark felt like he only sees himself as human, so that's why he named his son John. Honestly, that isn't a flex, or that isn't very flattering, I would
Mm-hmm.
say, because it's really you are being so not ungrateful. It's another word for it, but it's just spiteful, I would say, to your heritage, and that is definitely like a slap in the face for the fact that the elves, you know, their son, they saved him. And then that is how he pretty much repays them by selfishly using the powers. And yes, he is supposed to be the greatest hero and does like that. But at sometimes, even within post crisis again, Superman felt like he didn't want to be Superman anymore. In the Donner film, he gave up his powers, for Lois, for and he would do it in a heartbeat. Um, Post crisis, he complains all the time that he isn't human enough, or that he wish he didn't have the powers and stuff like that. That is
Like, I
just
just want
something,
to be normal.
right? And it's something that, like, he can pass, in a way, but when you're of a different ethnicity, or race, you can't pass, especially with skin tone. So for Superman to like have this privilege to, complain, and then but at the end of the day, he can pass. you know, it again, that is very much a slap in the face.
Exactly, exactly. And then we also move on to, yeah, it's like he brings all this all the Kryptonian science and culture to, for lack of a better term, man's world, and can make it better. It's like when that cringy ass panel of Jenny Spark comes out where he's like, I can't punch a virus, and I'm like, yeah, but you could make like a super mask so it doesn't spread. You could create even a temporary cure. There's any number of ways that Fortress of Solitude of yours can work. This is again the problem with Tom King, is that he takes stories that would be kind of interesting and puts them on the wrong characters.
Right. Well, and that's also a double standard because in All Star Superman, I believe he made a cure for cancer, which is again some of the things about curing, like real world type diseases and stuff. That is kind of teetering on a line that you can explore, but not too much, because that is something real world, and they are trying to find a cure for it in real world. So you can't
Well,
really
not
say,
only that, this is why I would not address like even 9/11. I wouldn't address that because it's disrespectful to the people that died on that, because there was no Superman to catch a plane.
exactly, things like that. That's something that you just shouldn't, you really shouldn't, go too far with.
And
However,
a
mhm,
previous DC documentary, real quick, brought this up is that they did like the reason why they never had any of the superheroes actually fighting in World War II because they're like there is no Superman to show up and like take care of Hitler and Hirohito. There's no one to do that.
right. And um Tom King, which is again, he I don't know if he forgot that he wrote this or whatever, but he
Probably
had
did.
he, he had Clark create a immortal juice for Lois to live a billion years. So, he that's why he is very selfish because he would use it for his own gain, but to help the world with Kryptonian technology and stuff, it feels like he will make the excuse that it's too dangerous or something, but he will use it for his own benefit, which, like I said, I think is very selfish. To be the son of a scientist, you know, he is supposed to have, a super intellect, but that isn't always used. Obviously, whether it is like when he's um teaming up with Batman, and Batman is supposed to be the smartest um, on the team and being this detective, then Lois too being an instigative um, reporter and investigative reporter, and she is supposed to be the smartest now, while Clark is just uh the brawn or the brute at some point. But he is the son of a scientist, and again, that is also forgotten in the shuffle as well. But if it's something that, whether it is made up or it is something that maybe we have found a cure of it and you just want to kind of like bring it up, but it is something that is a medicine or like I said, a cure, then yeah, that is something that can be explored within the stories, and you can have um, explore Kryptonian science and everything like technology and stuff like that with that. But other than that, again, Superman's he when Kryptonian technology and science is brought up, it's always demonized. It's something evil, you
It's
know.
called xenophobia.
Right, right. And I mean, I don't know why with a character that is supposed to be like the champion of the people, this inspirational, aspirational character, why are you demonizing who he is? Or part, not even part of who he is. This is like a major, major aspect because this is where he got the S from. This is where he got the powers from. And also with the backwards thing of Clark Kent is the real person. How is he actually the real person when he would like he doesn't need to wear the glasses. He doesn't need to act like a galoot. He doesn't need to hunch over. He doesn't
and
need to
and he literally wears the S all the time.
right. He and he has superpowers. Like, how is Clark Kent real when Clark Kent is the guy without the powers or pretending to be without powers? He pretends to be the clumsy, galoot. He pretends that he needs glasses and stuff like that. How can that be the real person? There is some, and then you go a little bit further of you have Smallville Clark, you have Metropolis Clark, and you have it was one more Clark, but I'm like, okay, now you're dividing a
Now you're
little bit
making
more
it even
of,
more complicated.
yeah, and it's kind of like, no, 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 that is just not how it should be. Um, it's just Superman, Cal, and Clark, and they are one of the same on different levels, but at the same time, it or different. situations, I would say. And but at the same time, they are all real. And for Superman to be an all real character at some point, he should publicize his identity along with how and take inspiration from Diana because it works for her, it can work for Superman, especially again with him being a journalist. And for my headcanon or hope that he becomes a global correspondent.
Exactly. So then we get to Diana's side of the castle, where it's like she is the bridge between Themyscira and humanity, because that's the thing about her being an ambassador, because she is supposed to be like the representative of the Amazons to like man's world, maybe even clear up a lot of the misconceptions about the Amazons, because I could see Diana maybe go on NPR for like a big interview to talk about you've heard a lot about the Amazons and like what they believe in, what they are. Let me clarify, because she can clarify that they're not like man-hating, they're not like they don't necessarily hate men. She can explain the context behind it and go, I'm trying to change that and bring these worlds together.
Exactly. And how does Diana do that? She is just completely honest with everyone. And that is something that, again, for DC to neglect her character and first putting someone who doesn't even care for her character as to write her book, that is a red flag for DCU. You know, what we saw, which I honestly don't think Gunn is smart enough to do this, but if his thing with Cersei in Creature Commandos was to have this sort of misconception of Themyscira, and Diana, when she is introduced, kind of, or basically debunk all of the misconceptions, then okay, I'll give them that credit. But if it is that the mascara is kind of like just the public sees them as man haters, or they see as women on an island in a sexualized manner or something like that. Yeah, that for Wonder Woman, we know her backstory. We know that at some points it is sort of in a bordering a sexualized manner, but at the same time, her character is supposed to be inspirational and aspirational just as much as Superman. And she is supposed to be taken serious with her representation of women respect, and everything like that. So for her character, that is how she is supposed to be written within DCU. And that it's such a shame that we haven't seen Ambassador Diana in such a long time.
I know, and by Zach was building to that, but what I would like to also see is that, but if I wrote Diana, I would have her go on there, do an interview. This would actually be like maybe my first issue, and she's doing an interview, and she's talking, and someone says, "You're a warrior, but you're a advocate for peace. Aren't those contradictory?" And I'd say Diana, and I'd have Diana go, "Not really, if you really think about it." And then I'd have her outline it. It's another dig against Tom King, where he said she's a walking contradiction. I'm like, actually, no, she's not. So you're just too lazy to think through it. But Tom King, lazy, gasp. It's like
Right.
it's one of those things, because here's the thing. She is the idea. Yes, you can be prepared for a fight, but also be pro peace. It's just, here's the thing. I did a video years ago, back when Tom Taylor first said that John Kent is a better Superman from his father because he's a pacifist. And one of the things that I said is, if you're a pacifist, then you shouldn't be a superhero. Now, here's the thing, and this applies to Superman, but I'm going to use Diana as the example. Diana will do everything she can to prevent a fight. That's what she will. That's the peace part. However, this is the big however, all caps if this were typed. If presented with no other option, she is trained to resort to violence to promote peace. That's the way this works. You can be Diana is in no way a pacifist, because a pacifist is under no circumstances will she commit violence. I'm sorry, Diana would not do that.
Right. I it's kind of like, again, it's the whole balance and complexity type thing that these writers just can't grasp on, can't grasp onto. It is, Diana, you can have her, use it fighting or whatever as last. She is going to talk to you. And however, on the extreme, so many of these writers want her to be like a den mother, and she's not. She's not going to be like a mother in that sense. She is going to try to talk you down, and then yeah, if she have to throw some hands, she will do that too. And then the whole killing part, that is what we talked about last week or the week before, but killing is her last resort. But because these writers can't, like I said, grasp the balance of it, you have to choose either or. It's no in between. You have to either choose the pacifist den mother or the extreme killer warrior woman that,
Well, here's the thing. If you say that Diana's a strict pacifist, she can't show up in Justice League because the Justice League fights supervillains.
Right.
What? What are you talking about? She's a pacifist. I'm like, no, she's not. That's a very simplistic look at the way Diana is. But anyway, it's like the other thing that like Diana promotes is gender equality, because she's like, yeah. Because here's the thing. Here's the cool thing about Diana leaving Themyscira and coming to man's world. She gets the other perspective of, because remember, and this is why the Clark Kent her relationship with Superman is actually very much in tune with her mission as an ambassador, is that this ad nauseum about as many times as Tom King has lied about Wonder Woman. It's that Superman is the living embodiment, is the living contradiction to everything the Amazons have ever thought about man. And when Diana sees this, and when she brings Clark home to the Amazons, they see, here is this man that has the power to destroy the entire world. Not only does he not do that, he essentially serves mankind. So in a way, he is way better than the gods ever could be. What do you think about that?
Right. And so I lost my train of thought that fast.
So that's all good.
So also with the I want to say with Bruce. Okay, so you kept bringing up Bruce and Barry and all of them. Has it ever been that they've like had stories where their identity has been brought up?
Injustice. Because
Just Injustice?
I don't know if, I'm not sure if they've ever done like an identity reveal for Bruce. I think, and they normally do the identity reveal for Bruce, it's like an Elseworlds or even like an end of the continuity story, but I don't think they've ever like done it in the main continuity. And in terms of Injustice, Superman just outed Bruce Wayne as Batman.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that's Superman. But it's like I know that, like, I'm not sure if Hal Jordan is that like firm on the secret identity. Actually, yes, he is, because for the longest time, the people he served with, like Ferris Air, didn't know he was Green Lantern. Barry has the secret identity. Who else? Well, obviously Cyborg doesn't, because you can't exactly hide that. Jean Jones does. Barbara does. Arthur Curry, I don't think does, even on Happy Heart. I'm pretty sure they all know he's Aquaman.
Okay, perfect. Arthur, he's the king of Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't, you know what? They haven't really clarified if I mean, they do know he's Aquaman and stuff like that, but they haven't really, clarified if Arthur Curry is actually known publicly as, the king of Atlantis and just that. I don't think they have, which is something else that, Clark and what we've gone through of Clark and Arthur having the same sort of, parallel of their lives, and how Arthur, he sometimes struggled with his main struggle is more of the royal, that being the king than being Aquaman and Arthur. It's kind of like he can find that balance, and it's just that pressure of being king. But that is also something that needs to be explored. It's how someone like Arthur can, have that balance of being with someone that's parallel to Diana as well. And then, you know, he understands the dual identity far more than Bruce, I would say. Understand that the world's finest of Batman and Superman being, best friends, but at the same time, with character dynamics that evolve, it's just something that, and yeah, we've of course brought that up, but it's just something that Arthur and Clark should be able to explore as well. And the only thing that they pretty much explored with Superman and Arthur was basically rebirth a little bit more, with the fact that Superman was the government stooge.
Mm-hmm. And even in Dark Knight Returns, he was a government stooge for that. But it's like, but that's the thing, and it's like going back to like Diana, and it's one of these things where this is what you could be exploring with a Wonder Woman run. What you should be exploring, even Clunrad did that. Even like in that era where like, because here's the thing, it's like one of the books that I got for Christmas was the Trade of Sensation comics. And it's a sensational Wonder Woman, and a bunch of those stories aren't necessarily Diana punching stuff. It's one of her like helping people just as Diana, if you will, in terms of, and it's like even where she's hunting like a woman who's like who like has DID and has been killing people. She's like, no, let me help you. It's like Diana's not going to jump to violence, and you can't stick with that. It's like my thing. But here's the thing. It's like the same people that whenever I see people praise the Tom King run, the commonality that I see is people are like, oh, it's very political. And I'm like, that's not a good thing.
The way you know, being political is very superficial.
Mm-hmm.
It's and honestly, superficial is being generous. You know, um, it's offensive in a way too.
Mm-hmm.
Because he basically had the again, and I will always bring this up how the Amazons were hunted. You know, apparently like thousands were already in America living their life, having families and everything like that. And, he basically wanted like this deportation type thing for, or and if they were being, if they wanted to fight back, they would kill them on the spot or unalive them on the spot. And that is something that you just don't gloss over, especially with the history of the Amazons and what they went through, um, before then, in their reincarnation and everything like that, and then becoming, um, slaves and everything like that for, Zeus or Hercules, whichever you want to go with. But all of that they went through, and then they were peaceful in America, which honestly I don't like how Tom King had that, because that doesn't make sense. It takes away Diana being the unique Amazon that comes to, man's world to build bridges. But
There's a lot that doesn't make sense about this
yeah,
run,
but
right?
you have already thousands of Amazons living in America or all around the world. And it's kind of like, okay, so they just kind of like didn't come back they didn't say anything. So you're just thinking that they kind
A
of
few of
like
them
what?
came back. I will give you that. That's the thing. Read the Josie Campbell Amazon's Attack book. It expands on this beautifully. It should be said in the Tom King run, don't get me wrong, but that book at least adds a lot more context.
Yeah, but that just really doesn't make sense. So Tom King's run, of course, like you said, it doesn't make sense. And the fact that you have her again, you're stripping away Diana's uniqueness by doing that and saying that, oh, she's only even accepted within, you know, to stand with Batman and Superman because she's friends with them, but she's also with a soldier.
Well,
Um,
yeah. And it's like the other thing is like I get the feeling that this run won't be remembered. The Wonder Woman fan base is going to pretend like it didn't even happen to the point where I betcha as much as we can. I mean, at least with me, I'm going to be like, man, it's a shame that Wonder Woman doesn't have a daughter. I get the feeling that for even if DC does not retcon her out, DC fandom is going to completely ignore her unless we can't, which they could make it so we can't, but we'll see with that. But anyway, moving on. Then we have being universal heroes for a global audience, because here's the thing. Now it's like and I like this from a cultural standpoint because even like them sharing all of their cultures with all of humanity. Because here's the thing. Clark's culture, Kryptonian culture, is him being Superman. That's what it is. So it's like they're sharing all that they are, everything about themselves with the world. That is kind of cool.
yeah, and so why is it such a bad thing though? Why if he can be Superman and it's not like you're not reading Clark Kent comics or what's the Daily Planet comics or something like that for
Mm-hmm.
Action Comics
You're
or
not reading
Superman and
Lois
Clark Kent.
Lane comics. No one reads those.
No, you're reading Superman and Action Comics, but really the title is Superman. It's not Superman: The Adventures of Clark Kent, or it's not called Clark Kent. It wasn't that. It is still talking about even with you can pick up an encyclopedia. You can pick up anything, and they will still say that he is from Krypton, that he is born Kal-El. His real name is Kal-El. He goes by or as you know a disguise as Clark Kent. Um, and like I said, there is a shift within the personas or whatever, and but at the same time, it should be all one person. Exaggeration at some point he can do or whatever, but at some point it just gets too it becomes very repetitive and unnecessary. Um, as a as a reporter, like I said, he should be able to, especially with human interest stories, and it's more so like he should be able to travel to another world and take notes of that adventure and come back and write as quote unquote Clark Kent and tell about his adventures on another planet and stuff like that. And like you're basically, as Wonder Woman is bringing the Themyscira and other cultures around Earth, you know, that together for people to accept diversity a little bit more and acceptance and everything like that and bring the peace of Earth. Superman and the Justice League and Wonder Woman are supposed to be more on a grander scale of bringing that peace to the universe. You as um, it's not just Earth that Superman is protecting. He is to protect all other planets as well because he doesn't want any planet to end up like Krypton, not just Earth. But that is also, that gives an idea, Jared.
Oh boy. See, here's the thing. People talk about how many stories that Britt and I had set up for the Shelterverse. The thing about it is, this is what happens. Like, post stuff, and we'll be like, Britt and I will just talk about stuff. Just the mere talking. I mean, by the way, Britt, I just want to give you a quick count of how many ideas I have from this episode alone. 6.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like, look at this. In conclusion, with the whole secret identity thing, I've seen I have no like loyalty to it either way. It's the same thing with Wonder Woman's origin. If the story is good, if you give me a good story with Clark not having the identity, fine. I'm fine with that. Same thing of like the Clay origin or the Zeus origin. As long as the story's good, I can go through that. Reason why I hate it, the reason why I wasn't for him showing the identity, is because all we've done it have been really crappy.
Yeah, it whether you have New 52 Truth, which was to basically just dog and drag New 52 Superman on through the mud, or you have He Who Shall Not Be Named.
Which one?
Uh,
Do a running joke throughout the entire stream.
shoot, I honestly I forgot which one I'm talking about.
If you're talking about the secret identity, I'm guessing it's the one whose name starts with a B.
Yeah. Well, shoot. It's two of them that start with a B, actually.
There are?
The post-crisis.
Oh.
There, yeah. So,
I'll tell you what. The one that also wrote for Marvel. Oh yeah, the other one also wrote for Marvel. God damn it! The one who wrote for Ultimate Spider-Man.
Has he written yet? No.
I know that the one that I'm referring to wrote Ultimate Spider-Man for 10 years.
Yeah. But either you have that version of truth, which was, like I said, it was very much padded and fluffed up, to be, as he said, that it was Superman coming out the closet, which
That's not. This is the. Oh, I know which. This is the He Who Must Not Be Named that literally had a psychic read Bobby Drake's mind and go, "Oh, you're gay."
Yeah.
How did you think that was gonna go, bro?
It's kind of like honestly, I just feel like some writers, like they go by their middle age thinking, and it must work in their minds a little
Can we
bit.
stop having old people write these stories, please? That would be very appreciative.
Yeah, but then even the new blood, some of them, even they try to stick with the old stuff, or even if it's new, it's kind of like they try to put the characters in this sort of very it still feels very much like that meme of hello fellow kids, and the old guy is dressed as like a hipster or whatever. Yeah, even you have to know how to write these characters naturally in the modern world. That's it. And it's all about balance. You can have your traditional type, some aspects of that's the core of the characters. But with modernizing them, it's just a natural sort of flow of things, in their dialogue, or, their actions and stuff like that. And so with this, with the modern times, like I said, people aren't starstruck as they were 20 some years ago. It's just kind of like, I guess because social media and everything, and people, even though, you know, TikTok is banned now in the US, but how it's so easy for people to gain followers, and you basically become an internet sensation overnight. Um, or just things like that. You can become a celebrity just like that. And so I think that hypeness of being a celebrity, and also people, celebrities putting their business out like that, where it's like it's very ugly, and you just know about their life, with reality TV and everything like that, and you see how quote unquote ordinary they are. like I said, you're just not going to be starstruck.
Or
So
it's like Brit. I kid you not. This was a headline that I saw. I was picking up some bagels with my mom, and I saw in the headline, uh, Drew Barrymore. It was like, no, Reese Witherspoon goes on a coffee run, and I'm like, why do I need to know this?
yeah, it's just, well, that really just shows how you don't have this sort of they don't have much to talk about, but you
Mm-hmm.
see how just normal in a sense their lives are. And like we said, like you said from the beginning, you can see Clark washing dishes. You can see him having, helping Martha and Jonathan on the farm. You can see Diana, and that's what was in Spirit of Truth too with Diana. She was with her mother. She loves her mother. She loves being around her sister. She loves petting, yeah, sure, deer. She wildlife and all that. Like who, unless you are living within that type of area, but who just walks out and go pets a deer, or she has kangaroos or something like that. um that sort of thing. It's just Clark and Diana have quote unquote ordinary life on a grander scale. Even with having Crypto is a dog, but he's an alien dog. So Clark can go walk his dog, but he's walking him in space. You know, it's
In
just,
midair, he's got the little leash and everything.
yeah, it's things like that that these characters you can really explore and put that all together to be so much more fantastical and so much more interesting for readers that I'm pretty sure we can know the difference between, oh, I can't go take my dog out in space to go walking, but it's just fun to see these heroes do certain things again on a grander scale. So with their identity, if you really know how to keep that balance, there can be a story of having these characters with an open identity. And I'm all for it. I really want them to have that because if you're going to be the champions of truth, the embodiment of truth, and as a journalist and an ambassador, you are at some point should have an open identity. Just be full on honest with the public. If we have it where Clark is saying that he didn't want to wear a mask, that he want people to see his face, then again, you would want people to call you, not just a Superman, because even with the Superman name, how Philip Johnson sort of said, well, Lois named him that. Even He Who Shall Not Be Named, the one that messed up the Superman and Wonder Woman book, he, in the Death of Superman movie, he had Clark act a little bit egotistical of saying that he wants like people to call him Superman because Lois named him that, which she didn't name him that in like specifically. It was just in the article that she wrote, and it just like kind of um it took life or whatever. People started
But
name
Brit, how else will we make Lois central to Superman?
right. But a name is just a name. But at the same time, if you want to just go by that of truth, then live it completely. So whether you call him Superman or you call him Cal or you call him Clark, let people know who you are if you want that sort of trust. Um,
Exactly.
with all the other um, Justice Leaguers, I guess it's up to us to kind of make that hypothetical type thing. I would say that with Bruce, um, you don't really see the playboy, the billionaire playboy type thing anymore. So I guess it really doesn't matter for him.
Well, they gave him back his cash, so they've undone that.
Yeah, so I really think that even Bruce, he wouldn't care, Batman. Honestly, I think it will probably give Bruce Wayne a boost of, if you want to have that, still that billionaire playboy type persona, it still works. you know,
Yeah,
with knowing that he's Batman. It makes him more of, in a sense of, women throwing themselves at him. Uh,
true that.
with We've already talked about Arthur and how he's the king of Atlantis. I mean, that is within itself. He's basically in the same position as Diana as well, being her people's ambassador as well. So it and princess. So that goes hand in hand of pretty much blurring, and it's not really something that he cares for as a secret identity either. Barry, I really don't know with Barry. I would say Wally seems like he would have an open identity, at some point because of how he has his kids and they have superpowers, and it just seemed like that dynamic with Linda and everything, they would have that open type or wanting to have that open identity type of relationship, and how supportive she is of Wally. Martian Manhunter, I mean, he shapeshifts, so he can
It's
have,
really easy for him.
yeah, multiple identities. Yeah, and the Lanterns, honestly, I just think that the Lanterns, because
Lanterns, I
they are
don't think they
mostly
really care because here's the thing: it's not like they're on Earth that much.
exactly. So honestly, who's really held back by secret identities and traditional set of status quos?
Bruce,
Bruce, yeah, sort of. But again, his persona as Bruce Wayne, they play it more not as a secret identity, more as kind of like a James Bond type thing. Like he's
sort of.
still known, and this, he's still in a sense of celebrity type thing. Diana, you have writers being regressive with her as Tom King is, but with trying to have Diana Prince as, and it feels so unnatural, and especially with even Lizzie or Trinity having the name, it just seems so unnatural for her to have this Prince last name, and it's not something that she uses or care for, or it's not like she's the diplomat that uh that goes for. And then Clark, he's obviously still stuck within the status quo, because they the reason why his identity was reversed was Philip Johnson, I believe, said it was again about Lois and how it was unfair for Clark to, um, you know, reveal his identity because it does put her more in danger and stuff like that. And I'm kind of like, well, again, she's the one that kind of put herself in danger all the time, knowing that Superman is going to save her. She's with him all the time. So it's kind of like, either way, whether they know his identity or not, Lois is still in the same position that she's always been in. So it's not really a difference in that. However, they basically, or editorial and Johnson basically wanted to label him revealing his identity in story as selfish.
Exactly.
And I honestly, being yourself and being honest, if that is being selfish, like what type of message is that giving the readers, and especially younger readers? Because again, Superman and Wonder Woman are supposed to be inspirational and aspirational characters. They are supposed to be open. They are supposed to be celebratory and um, embrace their heritage and everything and cultures and stuff like that. So for you to write it that no, they are supposed to hide themselves, or it's selfish for them to be celebratory or something like that. That is the wrong message to give to children, especially within this generation of kids trying to find their way, of kids fighting for, or just, anyone fighting for diversity in the world. It's like I said, especially in present day.
Or it's
So,
like even in diversity in thought, because there are certain places where you can't even have a certain opinion.
right. So why are you? These characters were made basically to for children to feel like they are um having that opinion, you know, be put out, that they are this creativity, this and even though no, you can't fly, you can't use a lasso and stuff like that, but you can just think big, and you can be the best of yourself and be a better person and all that. How are these characters supposed to teach that or be representations of that when the writers won't let them? You know, so
Exactly.
so yeah, so all in
And
all,
remember, DC documentary. Brit and I, it seems you and I reference that documentary a lot, but
yes,
it
we
has a
do.
lot of wisdom. It's because Dennis Cohen, he was like, it's not the characters, it's the writing, and sometimes you do have to update them uh, for like the world they're in now. That's what the new 52 is, and it
Right,
worked.
right. So all in all, yeah, I am for the open identity. I would say I would say the fifth year of them being heroes. If not that, minimum is 5, maximum is 10 years.
I'd say
And
10 years is a good point when you can do that.
yeah, and like I said, with the blessing, I did the secret the reveal, and it's just playing on them being like this celebrity couple on a grander scale, but they are still very much their humble selves. They're just living their, you know, quote unquote ordinary life with their daughter. And you know, if someone wants an autograph or a picture, or they see them and they're talking, you know, just play it as we normally see, you know, as celebrities in reality. And it's something that is so fun at some point, you know, sometimes that is uh not so fun, but it is something fun that they can explore.
Exactly. So speaking of something not so fun, but that we can explore, so Suicide Squad ended. So, all right, I'm gonna bring up some points here. So I overall enjoyed the game. Now, were there problems with it? Yes. Now, will I say it's the worst thing ever? It's no DC Rebirth. Let me put it to you that way. Now, here's the thing. Everyone that's upset about the clone thing, they literally were. Brit, do you know how far back they were teasing that the Justice League were clones?
No.
All right. So what happened? Okay, I'm gonna explain. I'll tell you what. How about this? How well do you know the story of Suicide Squad?
Somewhat, but
All
you can
right.
go ahead and,
Yes,
you
I'm
know,
gonna do this.
elaborate.
I'm gonna do this. All right. So what happens in this game as it relates to the Justice League when you rescue? So you show up. You're captured by Green Lantern, and he basically explains all this. Oh, Brainiac's gonna create a new Kolu and all that stuff. So he brings you back, and he's about to execute you. The Flash shows up, not brainwashed, but his regular Barry Allen, and obviously he tries to like he goes, run, Green Lantern's here, he's gonna kill us. So Green Lantern and him have this epic battle, and it's kind of cool. You're seeing all the thing the game does really well is communicate how powerful these heroes are and the impossibility that Suicide Squad members could fight him. But anyway, Flash gets really injured, and you retreat to the Batman Museum. And in the Batman Museum, Captain Boomerang is like taunting the Flash, and he accidentally cuts off Flash's finger. That's going to be very important. So this is also where they flip the script and have Batman hunt us in what is probably the scariest experience I've ever had in a game. And I knew it was coming. And when it happened on my first playthrough, I was like, oh no. Because literally, Britt, you are exploring a museum that's dedicated to the other Arkham games for the plot. And randomly out of nowhere, Batman will grab you and pull you back up. And I'm like, oh no, this is so scary. So you use Flash's finger to access the Hall of Justice's inner sanctum. And this is where Wonder Woman shows up. And So this is where I start to get a little bit like, okay, what's going on? Because Amanda Waller is like, your friends are now killing all the civilians. The Flash, Green Lantern, Batman. And when she says Superman, Wonder Woman looks back. And I'm like, did I get a vibe? So later on, they want you to find Lex Luthor. And when you find him, he's captured by the Flash, brainwashed by Brainiac, and has all 10 fingers. And the Flash can't regenerate a limb. That's one of the things he's been afraid of. Is like if someone chops off his legs, he can't run. The healing won't work. So something's going on with the Flash having all 10 fingers, and they actually point it out. And that's the thing. If the game points it out to you, yeah, something's going on. Then when you fight Green Lantern and defeat him, the ring doesn't fly away when you kill him. And that's normally what happens, and the ring will like seek another person. Then King Shark puts the ring on, because the reason why you had to take out Green Lantern is he's generating a force field around Brainiac's ship. So you wanted to take out the shield so Waller can send a nuke at Brainiac's skull ship. So you do that. The shield, first off, the shield does not go down. They point this out again. The ring does not fly away. Then King Shark puts on the ring. This is not the way a Green Lantern ring works. That's key. And takes out the shield. But then he turns on the Suicide Squad. Again, this is weird because King Shark was the one that liked his teammate. So nothing is as it's supposed to be. And that's important. Then Superman shows up. I love that great moment when he catches the nuke. Captain Boomerang is like, yay, Superman! Oh, F, it's Superman! Because he knows he's like mind controlled.
Right.
And then this is where this gets interesting. Diana shows up and goes, Kal-El. And you see Clark is like looking at her like, he's like hesitating. And Diana's looking at him like, please don't make me do this. And I'm like, I'm sorry, in that scene, I'm starting to think that in the Arkhamverse, Superman and Wonder Woman are a couple. And I'm like, yes, thank you. So they fought. But Wonder Woman has hammered kryptonite into her shield. There's this funny moment where the squad walks in on her doing this, and King Shark goes, that should be a sword. When are you going to get that you have to kill the Justice League? So Wonder Woman just hangs her head, puts her arm on King Shark's shoulder, and just gently slides him away. It's like King Shark is just standing there as she's like sliding him away. It's so good. And so Superman breaks the shield essentially. And Wonder Woman, seeing that there's no other way to save Superman, stabs him in the chest with kryptonite, like a massive like chunk of kryptonite straight into his chest. And then she hugs him and pushes the shard all the way into his chest. It doesn't kill him or do anything really. It makes him stagger a little bit, but then this is when he heat visions Wonder Woman, and then she turns to clay, even though she's in the Zeus origin, but I guess if there's any number of ways they can rectify that. And then Wonder Woman legit says before she dies, that should have killed him. So and then what Lex Luthor makes you do is he goes, okay, I need you to capture Batman and bring him to me. And then Captain Boomerang is like, and then actually Rick Flag is like, oh, is that all? You need us to capture the most dangerous man on Earth. You capture Batman and bring him to Lex Luthor. And Luthor says, genetically, something's wrong here because they've been altered. So nothing is adding up with the Justice Leaguers. So they've been setting up for a while that these guys were clones. Then when you kill Superman, Brainiac teleports you up to the ship. And then this is the final clue that I think clinched it for me, because I've been calling they were clones since I first completed the game. The part that convinced me, Brainiac says, you've defeated my Justice League.
Oh.
So they've literally been setting up the clone thing since the very beginning of the game. So when people are saying, oh, they retconned this because of the backlash, I'm like, no, they did not. You just were not paying attention. It's mainly also done by people that didn't play the game, but just hate on it for hating's sake. But yeah, the Justice League were clones the entire time. Yeah, that's pretty much the way it works. And what's then cool about this is, not really cool. Well, actually, it makes the game a little easier to play because when you kill Kevin Conroy, that's technically not Kevin Conroy's Batman. It's not Arkham Batman. So you're like, okay, that's fine. It's just a clone. Which anyone that thought that the Justice League was going to stay dead has clearly never read a DC comic, because why would they do that? Why, Britt? Has the Justice League ever? We literally had an event called Death of the Justice League, Justice League 75, and Britt, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Justice League came back to life or didn't actually die.
Right. They didn't die.
They were teleported.
Honestly, even that, I mean, what was funny about that storyline is that no one actually took it serious when it was first
literally everyone's like, they're gonna come back. And then what's kind of funny is when I think it was Joshua Williamson was like, yeah. Oh, they're gonna come back, and was like, yeah, we all know that, bro. You're not like convincing us.
The thing is, he was trying to say, no, they're not coming back. Like, this is the new generation. John, Yara, Damian, Nightwing is going to be lead, the Titans and everything like that. But I guess kind of like before the very first issue came out, it was like, oh no, the Justice League is coming back. It was like no one took that serious. Even with this video game,
everyone knew they were going to come back eventually. There's no way because here's the thing: if they want to do a Justice League game after this, they need the Justice League to be back to life.
However, for Diana to actually,
she's not dead. There's any number of ways they can bring her back. They can link it to Monolith's Wonder Woman game, or they can make it where the next game is a Justice League game, and you can even call it the Search for Wonder Woman, and they're trying to find Wonder Woman and bring her back.
And especially that could be a great plot for Superman. Another idea.
That may or may not be on my deck.
Of course. You see, we are so
we think alike. Alike.
But it could be pretty much his subplot or whatever, that he is the one that's trying to find a way to bring her back, because it was his clone that unalived her.
He goes, it has to be me.
Yeah, something like that. That will be a full circle. And honestly, if you do a video game or something like that makes it such a full circle like that, I think people would be a little forgiving about how it seems so rushed, and or however they're feeling about the video game.
Yeah, so it's like the idea of so that's the one thing I will say. He's not a possessed brute. He's a clone. So there is that. I just want to emphasize that. But it's still weird with that. But yeah, the Wonder Woman remaining dead, that was the thing. I think that if the game had gotten another season, yeah, they would have brought Wonder Woman back then. I'm convinced they are going to bring her back in a future game, because despite what people will say, this isn't Rocksteady's last game. They're even working on a new DC property game. I think it's a Batman game, but it could be something else. But the point is, yeah, if Rocksteady was going to make DC games after this, that were in this universe that took place after this, you kind of need the Justice League to be back to life, right? Yeah. So there is that. It's like, let me put it this way: is it kind of a cop out to have them be clones the entire time, even if the entire story was that? Yes, it is. It kind of is. But you can't tell me that it popped out of nowhere. It did. Like I just said, it didn't. They were setting this up forever, and they were telling you to point out. It's even so. One of the other things, Britt, is that one thing Green Lantern does is he puts Green Lantern constructs around all the Brainiac helicopters that are flying around. When he dies, they stay around, and even the squad comments if Green Lantern's dead, why are the choppers still green? If Rocksteady is pointing it out to you with game dialogue, they are telling you this is kind of important for story reasons. And it's when you rescue Green Lantern, he still has the bullet in his head and stuff. And I'm like, that doesn't work unless it's a clone. So I'm like, okay, there you go. That's the way this is supposed to work. It's just the thing is, I think what it was, is that people were operating too much on emotion because, yes, this is the first time we see the Arkham Justice League, and people wanted, like, really, people wanted to play as the Justice League. And honestly, I do too. That's why I say the next game should be a Justice League game where, again, we find Wonder Woman. And maybe have her hair be down instead of, like, all the way up in that bun, because I think people would have been a little more, like, on for the Wonder Woman design, because it's not perfect, but she's not ugly. That's the thing.
Yeah, the thing is, gamers, and they're looking for sexualized female characters, and in any media, and especially with the video games, you have like this Mortal Kombat. The women dressed as they are.
Mm-hmm.
You have uh, other fighting games, that has women a little bit not very appropriate of dressing while fighting, and also just the random, let's say Grand Theft Auto, those type of games that you have women there too, and um, they might be exotic dancers or something like that. So within the gaming, you have expectations for how women are modeled. And for Wonder Woman, of course, we already see it in the comics too, that they only care for Diana to be sexualized. So for her to be um the way she looked in this video game, yeah, it wasn't appealing to the to that sort of group of that demographic, which is kind of like, we really don't care. We just want Diana to be respected as who she is, as Wonder Woman, as because the last time we had a video game, she was Injustice, and it's her being basically the snake,
Temptress.
or yeah, the temptress. And I mean, honestly, even that design, Mortal Kombat type NetherRealms design for her, it's not that fabulous either. um,
Particularly Injustice 1. Injustice 1 looked a little mannish, which is why I'm glad that when we got Injustice 2, at least she looked like a woman. By the way, a funny part I forgot to mention about this: when we first meet Wonder Woman, she wraps Boomerang in the lasso, and she goes, "Explain yourself." And then he goes, under the influence of the lasso, he goes, "I mask my insecurities with drinks and bad behavior." And then there was this funny part where Deadshot goes, "Ah, crap, and I got my daughter a Wonder Woman shirt last week." And then I love when Waller says your mission is to kill the Justice League. Everyone's like, "We're all gonna die."
yeah, that I
Because
think it
it's
was,
like, they're like, "What are we gonna do?"
honestly, it it's all about execution, and for some reason, DC and all of their properties are having a hard time with execution. They have good plotting and stuff like that, and good ideas somewhat, but yeah, it's just
Speaking of
all
something
about.
really well executed, the Superman Wonder Woman battle happens while you're playing the game. And as you're escorting Waller back to the Hall of Justice, you hear like the sonic booms of them hitting each other. Lame is like narrating the fight. You all of a sudden feel the ground shake. In the background, you can see Superman shooting his heat vision. So you actually feel like gods are fighting around you. And I'm like, oh, this is dope.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they had good ideas. It's just about, some things just fall short. And that has been DC for the past decade, really.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. So speaking of execution, Tom King Wonder Woman. So what's kind of fun about this? So Britt and I have a couple of things to go over on this slide. Number one is that Absolute Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 17 are releasing on the exact same day because of distribution delays. Now, one of the things that's very interesting is that the Diamond bankruptcy may affect single issues overall, because it could cause the other, even though DC is not under Diamond anymore, this could affect like them going, okay, why are we emphasizing single issues anymore? We should just do trades. They could stop publishing monthly comics, which would also lead to an end to the Wonder Woman run. There is something there. But the other thing that I want to mention is that, and we'll talk about the trading day in a second, this is the perfect opportunity to gas up Absolute Wonder Woman and say, yeah, we just want this, not the unwonderful woman.
Unwonderful. Yeah, because Diana right now in the main line is definitely not wonderful, especially with the fact that, with creating a baby and how significant that is for women, whether they
It
can
won't be.
have natural born children or adopting a child or any type of, you know, ways of women being able to have children. And it's already a red flag and a strike that you use the clay origin, which is, you know, very important for Hippolyta. And you know, it's not something that was for a group to grieve over a man. Like the reason why it wasn't grieving over a man, it was grieving in for Hippolyta, for everything that she had gone through and that pain. And instead of wallowing, she created a new life and to start over. So for Diana to you take that, or Tom King essentially, to take that and make it about her grieving over a man and honoring a man when that wasn't what that is, like I said, that is a strike. Um, for to have her now showing some type of emotion and actually doing something. Well, she's not doing anything, but
Mm-hmm.
whatever the plan that Tom King she supposedly has all
He
along
has a
to
plan.
defeat, right, to defeat Sovereign, you know, very much pulled out the other end and contrived. Uh, you know, her only motivation is because Steve died. But you had your sisters, they imprisoned, took taken from their families or murdered, and she was just moving like molasses, you know. But
She was
with,
moving.
well, I said molasses.
She was
So
moving in like Zack Snyder style slow motion the entire time.
no, because that's a little bit fast. I mean, even
It's
though
a,
it's slow
it's
motion,
a little this way. That's cool.
yeah, this is very much slower than a snail, you know. So yeah, the only time she actually, and honestly, again, we didn't see her grieve over them. We didn't see her. She was just going, you know, on whatever, going on shopping trips or whatever with Clark, and and making out with Steve. But she did not
While
care
she's
for her
tracking
sisters.
terrorists.
Yeah, but she didn't care for her sisters. And then again, only when Steve died, which was very contrived, and the buildup was very half-assed and stuff. Only then was she supposedly doing something. Then you have this baby that no one asked for, no buildup at all. You're just making it happen because Steve died and because you want to have this importance of Steve, and basically have Diana attached to this man with a baby. And it's kind of like, no, that is something that women fight against. And it's crazy that, within the election, that was also something of women fighting for their choice, as whether they want to have children or want to be with men in a certain type of way. And yet you use the very character that is supposed to represent this real world type thing, and especially with the Amazons, you make her have a kid, essentially attaching herself for a man, and her motivations for this kid is a man, which was practically not her choice. So you were going the opposite way of.
Particularly if you make it where the sovereign's lasso of lies like implanted the idea of having a kid in her, and I'm like, you're not making this any better, Tom King.
Exactly. So yeah, the whole thing of this story of this storyline of everything is very much not the choice of a woman and Wonder Woman. It is very offensive as a female reader, as a female myself. It is not that kind of story that, it resonates with women.
Hey,
And
it's offensive to me as a dude as well.
right. So yeah, it's if you wanted a story with Wonder Woman against America, by all means, I mean, I don't even honestly, I don't even know why she even is a fugitive and being against America or America against her. I
Because
know it's
well, what
Emily,
happened
but
was, in the first issue, she attacked U.S. soldiers,
I mean that he honestly.
and implication she killed them.
Right. And honestly, Tom King has, like, I guess he's lost his own plot because that has, he's veered so off from that,
And that's what Tom
and
King normally does.
right. And it just does not make any sense. And it's just something that, and that's, is dragging, and, um, yeah, it's just not Wonder Woman. And with him trying to replicate, I guess, or he's not trying to homage for sure. George Perez run, he is definitely doing the opposite. And I think, like I said last week, he is everything that he felt that George Perez did with aging up Steve to not be as important. He was important, but not, that love interest from, um, even the whole thing with saying that, past runs of Wonder Woman, they focus on the villain or the love interest or, things like that. He pretty much doubled down on that critique, and he also, it just feels like he's trying to best George Perez in a sense of Diana needs to, she does need Steve to be her love interest, and but the thing is, George Perez, his run is so beloved because it was much more mother daughter oriented, and female oriented in a positive way. You had Julie and Vanessa as well as, the drama that goes with that, but it also just this warmness to it. With Tom King, you know, um, the Amazons are not there. Ella is not there. The Wonder Girls, even if they are in the book, it still doesn't feel like they have a connection with Diana. It's just basically they're used for her to be a stay-at-home type, grieving, sad shell of herself as a mother for Trinity. And I mean that's pretty much what he said is that the Wonder Girls are taking care of everything while she's raising Trinity. And I just don't, that just seems like not Diana. She just wouldn't just drop everything like this. No.
Yeah, exactly. Particularly when when Amazons are dying, and it's like when the Sovereign's supposed to be her new arch enemy. That ain't happening anytime soon. It's really stupid. And honestly, this would have been a better Waller book than a Wonder Woman book. But anyway. So here's the thing. So we're gonna let's talk about Diamond, because Diamond falling apart. Now Diamond is not going away yet. Bankruptcy does not mean it's going. It's like done. What that means is there's financial reorganization. Now, that being said, 20% of companies that go through bankruptcy come out of it. Marvel did twice, so there's that. But the thing is, with Diamond being the crapshoot that it was, I don't see it coming back. Now, that is the thing. and I've heard people bring up that if that since Diamond's going away, this could lead to the big two dropping dropping monthly floppies, because for one thing, as Britt and I talked about in the beginning of the show, the new books aren't selling. By new books, I mean books other than Absolute. So this could lead to DC going, okay, you know what? This isn't selling. What does sell? Back issues and the old stuff. So let's just republish old trades that people want and like and that made us DC. And then let's just go off of that. Maybe this is how we get the Superman Wonder Woman omnibus, Brit. I mean, maybe one day.
Well,
But we'll see, even though it would collect the Tomasi run, which I'm like, but anyway.
please no, just collect like Soul's, volume 1 and 2 and interviews or sketches or something. Please no to Tomasi. No. Like
Yeah, exactly.
no.
But the point is like it could affect that, and that's a way to get King off Wonder Woman. So hey, there you go. And Trinity will technically be retconned because they won't be advancing the story anymore. But so in a way, actually speaking of that, all right. So by the time, this will be going live on Monday, and then I'll post this these instructions as a tweet, as a separate tweet, probably on Tuesday or actually on Wednesday in the morning. But okay, so the trending day. Here's what we're gonna do. All right, so I'll post in the beginning, and at in the morning, and then I won't be able to regularly post until 5 p.m. Eastern because I work in the daytime and I don't like to tweet during when I'm supposed to be working. But what this is we're going to gas up the tweets and have sure when you retweet when you share our tweets and stuff, please put our hashtags with the tweet, and those are King off Wonder Woman and hashtag Retcon Trinity. Put both of those in the body with a picture or a short write-up talking about why you hate Tom King. We're going out. We're gonna be tweeting every hour because the idea here is to try and get this trending, or at least a lot of numbers here for a Wonder Woman book. Even if you don't even if you're not a Wonder Woman fan, if you hate Tom King, here's a way to express your hatred of the man. But what do you think, Britt?
Well, honestly, it's always Wonder Woman, she does represent, having the voice for the people. So the voice for the fans, and you are giving that to them with this hashtag and organizing it. And I'm very proud of you, for keeping strong with this fight of, it's not just, the thing is that people, have to know, it's not just getting a writer off of a book, as in his calling for the firing of anyone from their job, basically.
We're not calling for him to be fired. We're calling for him to be moved off the book. There's plenty of other books that he can write.
No, it's plenty of other books that he wants to write.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
If you don't want to write Wonder Woman, don't write Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that he, from jump, said that he does not want to write her book. So it's not like you're taking him away from a character that he has loved and appreciated and wants to write. No, you are saying remove him from the book and put him on a book that he wants to write, which is the Super Sons, Batman, Superman, hell, even Crypto.
Don't put him on Superman, for the love of God. Don't put him on Superman.
No, because he would write him as a middle-aged simp for Lois. So no.
But Batman, you can do.
Even if he wants to write the Super Sons or Crypto or something like that, let him do it. But Wonder Woman, he does not have the appreciation for her. So no, he shouldn't. Or hell, give him a Steve Trevor book and let him write that too. Uh, but
It that definitely won't sell, but right.
yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But it's not about, firing. It's just removing him from the book he already said he didn't want. And putting someone that actually cares for her character, respects her character, and understands her lore, respected, and respect George Perez because Tom King, he really came, you know, full swing, very egotistical about and talking about George Perez and how
Oh, I
he
have
pretty
all
much,
this vast comic knowledge about Wonder Woman. Really? Where
yeah,
is it?
and right, and you know, boosting his own self up with trying to put himself on the level of George Perez. And that is just the way he spoke about it and how he did. It was very disrespectful. At least, in my perspective, it was disrespectful. And it just felt like I said, he wants to challenge past writers and make it seem like he can do better.
Yeah,
Um,
and I'm like,
so
dude, just write like you are. I get that that you aren't confident in your own abilities. In some ways, you shouldn't be. But just if you don't know what to do with this character, which he has also admitted, don't write the character.
right.
That's what that is. By the way, no toxicity. Don't be harassing people.
Right.
What you can do is if he promotes the book on Twitter, put in the hash. Basically, any social media that he tries to promote the Wonder Woman book, flood the comments of his post uh, with the two hashtags King off Wonder Woman and hashtag Retcon Trinity. Flood
Right.
them.
Right. But it will be still in a sense it's very, I mean, respectful because again you don't want the toxic,
Hmm?
and people have they have been toxic and really opening speaking their mind about King even in his mentions and stuff,
Hmm.
but that's something that you don't promote. And again, that is why it is something very positive, though. It's
Hmm.
something that should be um, upheld as this isn't just some irate, fan or, something like that. It's not like how the usual, fans are with certain things where they are harassing and sending, threats and stuff like that. It's
Nope.
not that.
We
It's
are not the
just
Cloas fans.
right. Well, I wasn't gonna say that, but yeah. um, it you are, like I said, essentially just wanting a writer who didn't want to write the character in the first place, remove him, put him on a book that he will actually enjoy, and put a writer that actually cares.
That's
And
the thing.
and
If he's on the right book, he nails it.
right.
Granted,
And
those books aren't Wonder Woman or Jenny Sparks, but maybe Penguin, I've heard is good.
yeah. And even with Trinity, and the thing is with Trinity, her whole concept is very disrespectful to Wonder Woman because she is not to be centered around Batman, Superman, and Steve. Like, no, that is just not who
Because
she
Superman
is.
has a kid and Batman has a kid, Wonder Woman should have a kid. I get that that's probably the internal reason why you're doing it, but don't tell people that. Are you
Right.
stupid?
He's well, yeah,
Maybe
that
a little
and
bit in terms
very
of Wonder Woman, but I'm like that is the worst thing you can. And when you have when you have Trinity go, I'm Trinity, daughter of Diana, leader of the Justice League. You notice how she didn't identify herself as Wonder Woman?
no, her name, yeah, her name is just Trinity because, and even with the name
Or
Trinity, I
she didn't
mean,
even identify herself as Trinity. She said, "My name is Elizabeth Marston Prince, daughter of Diana, blah 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 blah, and leader of the Justice League." Which I'm like, what?
honestly, even that is so Mary Sue OP like. It's. I mean, even they tried to do that with John too, to be leader of the Justice League. That's like their which isn't that kind of like the eugenics thing, of like these two are propped up to be just like these all. better than the previous Justice League, that they are the Justice League leaders and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And but
They're
what we see,
Generation S, because that isn't cringe at all.
yeah, which honestly seems like they mean Generation S is in like superior or something. So you're giving
Guess what that is? That is called eugenics.
right when, but it's all about projection with that sort of thing. Um, but you've never seen that in story with Clark and Diana's kids of what we saw. Even if their kid like uh Kingdom Come John, within the Justice League or does become a leader, he wouldn't announce himself as such. And I think by that time the Justice League actually would, I think it not so much as disband, but it would be such a like how Wade is doing, where the Justice League is kind of like
An
different
army. Well,
operational.
also, if there's any people, if there's any two heroes that should be the leaders of the Justice League, it's Damian and John. Their fathers are
Yeah,
Superman and Batman.
that's true. And even with what Tom King showed, he only shows uh those three, and when they were, I think they were in the Hall of Justice, but it was just those three. Like there was no one else. So how is she the leader of the Justice League? Is the Justice League just John and Damian? And he also, why is Diana ba- why are they babysitting like Trinity, um, you know, all the time, when if the Justice League, well, the previous Justice League has retired or they're old and stuff like that, and apparently John is supposed to be Superman now, where is the Justice League then? Why is Diana having John and Damian babysit her? And it doesn't seem like she has any other type of life outside of anything with Themyscira. Honestly, Tom, he hasn't shown Diana interacting with any of the Amazons except for the cancer patient issue. But why wouldn't
Again,
Diana,
because King doesn't know what he's doing.
yeah, why wouldn't Diana have the Amazons babysit her? You know, that,
That's
and
probably what they'll do after like the Sovereign story ends and or after the King run ends. They'll put her on the island and just never reference her. But here's the thing, if the character bombs repeatedly, like even if her solo series bombs, actually, you know what? I should correct myself. When her
when,
solo series bombs, and I could see them going, okay, you know what? Ignore the character, pretend like she never existed. And I could see them just pretending like Trinity never existed. Like they'll just forget she ever existed,
right,
which they should do.
right. And we also don't see, Diana has never interacted with Damien in a, it was only for the contrivances of King's,
Hmm.
run. But Damien and John has never had actual, like, the genuine type of interaction with Diana to say that that they are Trinity's brothers, or this aunt uncle type thing. It just never has been that, no build up to that whatsoever.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't work.
yeah, I mean, even with Diana and her relationship with Clark and Bruce, they aren't the best of friends like that. The most we have had of them kind of attempting to show that is Coonrad for you know, well, just the Wonder Woman 793 issue. But other than that, we really haven't had them as best friends. The Trinity Rebirth book, that was very awkward because it was at that time post Crisis Superman going into the New 52 world and all of that. And then after Reborn, it just felt like they were thrown together as in this is how this Superman has always been the Superman of this earth and just go with it type thing. So it wasn't really essentially a it wasn't a genuine relationship with especially Clark and Diana, and it's still not a genuine relationship between them. You just have, of course, the boys' club of the world's finest. Um,
Exactly.
so
So another thing happened. We got a preview, and this again, okay. This again made me hate Tom King's Wonder Woman more because this brought in a character that Wonder Woman fans have been asking for a while. Etta Candy, which actually cool thing. So in this, Etta's a witch.
oh, Etta is a witch too. I thought it was just her sister.
Because it says here when Steve talks to her, Steve goes, Steve essentially goes, it's a lot to process, but I'm guessing there's no time for you to explain who you are. And then Steve goes, Diana asked me if I knew any witches. I said I did.
Oh, okay. So it's all okay.
That's
Well,
unique,
that
especially
is
since Diana herself is a witch in this.
yeah. That is I like that. Okay, cool.
So,
That is
how does it feel seeing Etta Candy for the first time in like a year?
honestly that's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the only time we would know, well, we are seeing it, but Tom King already was, egotistical about it and very confident to say that he has a list of things that he wasn't going to have in the Wonder Woman book. So I wouldn't be surprised if Etta was on that list as well.
Yeah. But and again, what's kind of cool, I swear, if Julie and Vanessa show up in this damn book, I am going to have a conniption because I'm like, so you're telling me in the book where Wonder Woman was raised in hell, the book that's like crazy alternate version of Diana is better representing her world than the mainstream Wonder Woman book. Are you telling me that's true? Because if you're telling me that's true, that is complete and utter BS.
Yeah,
It
it
is just
is
the stupidest thing in the world.
right. But it is, as we said before we even started recording, it was um, that this really shows how, for people calling that within New 52, they should have had post crisis going on as well. No, because first of all, DC doesn't have the money, didn't have it at that time, don't have it now, to sustain two different lines. And we see how the main line right now is falling drastically, while Absolute, with only 3 books, is basically holding DC afloat, and pretty much what the fans are gravitating to. So your main line might be the basic upon basic and very safe, but that is just not what fans want. The only reason why fans were, supporting it in a way is because that's all they had. You weren't giving them any other choices. But now that they have a choice with the absolute line, it's showing how these fans do not want this contrived, bland, basic of whatever the main line is supposed to be.
Yes, exactly. And again, it's nice seeing. See, this is why I say this is my comfort Wonder Woman book, and why I protect this book so drastically, because this is the actual. As far as I'm concerned, this is the actual Wonder Woman book. That's it. This is what we have. So pick up the crap out of this book. I'll give more details in the coming days when it comes to trending day, but gas this book up. We need to gas this up and drown out any talk about Wonder Woman 17. So I think that's a good place to leave it. Britt, do you have any stories you want to tease us with?
Okay, so I've already share with you my ideas,
Oh,
which
I have ideas, Britt.
yeah, which pretty much I would say that we are very connected, as kindred spirits with that. Um,
That's what happens when you have a good partner, Britt.
yeah, and you already had the exclusive of one of the one shots, and now to finish editing chapter 3, which is very fun, especially with Clark's emotional role in it, with how he takes a stand for Diana. We also have another one shot where this is geared towards Hippolyta's perspective of Diana, and how proud she is of her, and also she is um, giving Clark her blessing for him to, um, you know, and his acceptance as well of being with Diana, and she's not going to basically cut his head off with her axe. So she's giving him that relief. And yeah, just slowly but surely getting other stories done to upload. I will probably, hopefully, once things are calm, I can upload a little bit more. And yeah, so I can't wait to share those with the fans.
Exactly. Stay heroic, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs to General Zod, and Steve Trevor, Steve Never. He belongs 6 feet in the ground. Zois and Max about for life. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.